How was it for you with the
open mics?
Yeah, with getting to know people and stuff.
Yeah, it's just the problem with a lot of these white comics. They feel the weird thing about the running joke is you get into comedy because you're weird, awkward, insecure, and need to prove something. I think that's the case for the North Side mainstream comedian. Most of the black comedians are just like, hey, nigga, I was the funniest person in class. Let me run this shit real quick. Yeah. I think that's the difference between the two because, like, I feel like I'm in the middle because I feel like I've always been funny and am a little awkward. So I'm not gonna sit here like, oh, I was a cool guy. I was really cool, but it was always a facade. So I feel like I'm the hybrid. So to answer your question, if we was talking at open mic, I've always been I like knowing people. I like building a bond. But I noticed some of my peers on the North Side, per se, aren't the same way. They want to be in their stuff. They want to write their jokes. They want to tell their jokes. They want to go home. When I go to the South Side, that's like, hey, nigga, what you been on?
Yeah.
That's it.
I think I've been running into this issue of, like, I definitely see the dichotomy between I mean, it's impossible not to see. And I've always been perceived as like too white for the black kids, too black for the white kids. I was literally just talking.
I know that feeling very well.
Yeah, and so when I'm in the North Side, sometimes I feel like, at least when people first met me on stage, they were like, "This motherfucker's scary. This is like a Black Panther, the way he talks about white people." And then when I go to the South Side, they're like, "It's Carlton ass nigga. I don't want to talk to this dude."
Yep.
So
I know that feeling very well.
So this is my way of finding a community, essentially. And what's up?
No, go ahead, finish.
I just remember I was talking to Brian Rowe about how when I first moved here, I remembered him, I remembered you, I remembered Derek Strong and Skylar Higley.
Good people.
Yeah,
Good
I haven't spoken to Skylar ever, but one day I'm sure. And you four in particular felt shockingly confident and comfortable, and so it just reminded me like I need to talk to these guys eventually.
Well, that's the funny thing about stand up in Chicago, especially on the North Side. That is a weird trait to have, being really confident in yourself. Unless you're the guy, then they're overconfident. But that was one thing that I always got pushed back because I started comedy in Chicago when I was young. I technically started at 17, but I started moving around like 18, 19 in Chicago. So I remember, and I've loved comedy since I was a kid. This is what I wanted to do, and I didn't start off great by any means, but I don't think I've ever was bad at comedy, which is a hot take. But I don't. I just think I was. I'm never bad at comedy. I came in with just being mediocre off the bat. So because of that, and because I was young and I was living my quote dreams, I came in with a bunch of confidence. You couldn't tell me shit. I was doing just as well as some of my peers who've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, who are 10 years older than me. But that really, in retrospect, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And then me, Clay. Not Skyler, but he came in later. But me, Clay, and Ali. Ali doesn't live anymore. He's in Boston. Clay, you probably know the white guy with long blonde hair I hang out with a lot.
Was a live one? Was he with you?
Not recently, but he used to go there a lot. White guy, blonde hair. We run the show together, but we started the Young Hustle show, and that started to pick up steam. And so because of that, you just couldn't tell me shit for a while. But that did rub people the wrong way. And in retrospect, I wouldn't change anything, but I wish I would have known. Yeah. Because I was oblivious to it. I was just a kid having a good time. And because of that, I was confident. Because why would I not be? I'm having a good time. I'm a kid. But like I said, it rubbed a few people the wrong way.
How old are you?
I'm 25 now, going on 26 though.
Okay. Yeah, man. So you're like in it for real. I admire that. Like, I think if I had met you, if I had met you when I started, I probably would have been like, man, just
it's weird.
Nigga. What?
It's weird because it goes through waves. So I've gone through a lot of waves, and now I'm at a point now the pandemic really helped us, and broke up with my girlfriend recently. Been going through that. Got a new job. Started to make a few dollars. Comedy has gone down and up a lot. So now I'm at a point now where none of these comedians mean anything to me.
Okay.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. Some of them are my friends, and if you're my friend, of course, I'm not necessarily talking about you. But the ones who are literally just my peers, and even if we're on a good, and I don't have too many people in Chicago that I'm not on a good times with, maybe one or two, but for the most part, I'm on good times with all of them. But with that being said, unless you are actually one of my friends, I don't care anymore. Yeah. It's just they don't benefit us. The one thing I don't like about Chicago, and I love the city, and I love the comedy scene, but the one thing I think we could do a little bit better, if we have a lot of a Midwestern mentality a little bit.
What do you mean?
In the sense of, Me and my friends talk about it a lot. The problem with Chicago is there's so many good comedians here, and we don't lift each other up. But let one of these good comedians go to New York or LA and then either blow up or just be the guy there. We come back, we blow their dicks off. We just blowing them left and right. Yeah. But the thing to me is because Midwestern mentality is we don't appreciate what we have until one of the coast says it's good. Like, there's a lot of comedians here, I think, who could be one day genuinely really good, if not famous, and we should already be claiming them as the guy because they're in Chicago, and this is Chicago comedy and this is Chicago as a whole. We don't really appreciate them. And then once they leave and then they're the guy, they're like, oh, they came from here. But when we was here, I didn't give them enough appreciation. I think that's just a Midwestern mentality. It's the second city mentality. We don't believe it until New York says it's good or LA says it's good. Huh. So yeah,
what was the scene like pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think pre-pandemic, it was more of a actual hierarchy. It was a real standing. People really appreciated, like the guys who were the guy. It was like the club comedians, the indie comedians, the indie comedians, the tier below indie comedians, bar comedians. And big bar shows, comedians, and then it was the open micers, and it was a real hierarchy. Now, and people bought into it, really bought into it. Now I think the hierarchy has died, and not only has it died, I think people, even if it came back, people don't buy into it because you have people like you got open micers doing spots at Laugh Factory here and there, which technically makes him a club comedian, but that's not the case because now, I mean, technically that is the case, but because Laugh Factory and even Zany's now and even Comedy Bar, they have so many independent run shows, and now there's a lot of young guys. Like, I don't want to be this guy, but when I started comedy 6 years ago, we had Young Hustle. That was a bar show that went to Comedy Bar, that went to Laugh Factory. We was the first independent show, outside show, because we wasn't past that Laugh Factory. So we was the first independent show at Laugh Factory that wasn't by Laugh Factory regulars. Now it's like 6, 7 of these shows. We started this. So we was the outliers for what we was the outliers is now the regular thing now. Now it's so many, and we also would book our friends. So we'll have a lot of our friends who wasn't regulars there, we'll book them. Now that's the case with a lot of people. A lot of people now, if you just have a friend who runs a show, you could do spots at Laugh Factory consistently and not necessarily be that good. Or you are that good and just hasn't been seen, but point being, it's other ways in, and because of that, people aren't buying into, I use me as an example. I got to be friends with St. James now because that's my only way in. I can be friends with anybody. It's 6, 7 people who run shows at the clubs. So because of that, I think people are more likely to believe in themselves and be more confident because you don't have to buy into the bullshit. And because of that, it's an easier way to the top in Chicago, which I think is good.
Yeah, coming out here, I wish I could have seen pre-pandemic, but coming out here, it feels like the Wild West almost.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm coming out here with my 6-shooter, just like, all right, let's just go out in there and do it, man. And I love it out here. I love it.
I like it too.
I have things written down. Did you grow up? You grew up out here.
Kind of, sort of. I was born in Chicago. I was raised in Georgia. And then I came back to Chicago when I was like 13, 14.
Was a reason behind that?
I mean, my mom moved out there. I don't know her reason. I think her family, a few of my aunties had moved out there. Cheaper in Georgia. She got her job transferred out there. And she says to me she didn't want me to be around the crime and stuff like that, which is a good excuse. Now, I was in Georgia. I was a negative kid. I was still getting in a lot of trouble. But maybe Georgia trouble wasn't what I would have been in Chicago. So yeah, I just loved that we lived out there, and yeah, it was. I really don't. I think she just wanted to move out there to be with her sisters.
Yeah. Okay. So just family, just regular. No, you don't have like a Batman origin story where someone died and you're like, we gotta escape to Chicago. That's what I pictured.
A lot of my family most of my family. I would say 85% of my family, I'd say 75% of my family is in Chicago. Her 2 sisters, younger sisters, who she's really close with, moved to Georgia. So those are my 2 aunties on her side. My dad's family's huge. He had 12 siblings. So Technically, he had 14 siblings because my granddad had 2 kids as well. Yeah, my grandma and grandfather had 13 kids, and they was both very religious. And I'm not as religious as I used to be. So now I can just think of the irony. Like this man, like, hey man, just, wait to marriage and hold yourself in. It's like, yeah, nigga, I know why you're waiting. Nigga. You can't hold yourself in. As soon as you got one, you blah blah blah,
busting nuts everywhere.
And my grandma's so sweet, which makes it so funny. She's such a sweet lady in the back of my head, which I don't really think too often because I'm not fucked up like that. But we're comedians and we go dark places. Every now and then I'm like, this sweet old lady was just taking dick left and right. This little sweet, little beautiful, and she's so nice, and I love her. She took it. So I moved out to Chicago. I lived with my dad for a year, and then I ended up moving to my grandma. That old trope, and she ended up taking care of me for most of my back end of my adolescence until I was grown. So I lived with her between, I want to say, from 15 to like 21. Yeah, 15 like 21, maybe 22.
And you were saying like this was the dream and you always knew you wanted to do this.
Yes.
I had the same thing, but I started later and I'm fucking still I'm still working through that anger of that. But what were you encouraged to do this? Like how did you get started in it? What happened?
Yeah. Here's my Tonight Show story.
Oh, I'm excited.
I might not get it. No, I just encouraged to do it. Yeah, so I went to art school. Well, I did. I went to Lincoln Park High School. It was a nice little white-ish school in Lincoln Park. Yeah.
Okay. I'm figuring it out. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little rich. It's not a rich school, but it's a good school. One of the better schools in Chicago. So, but it's not an artsy school, but it has really good arts program, and it should have been an artsy school because the band program was like ranked 2 in the city. Drum program was really cool. All that shit. So all my friends in high school were all my friends were musicians, actors, and shit like that, or nerds. So they all had their end. I, weirdly enough, was just a funny guy. But I'm the funny guy, and school wasn't my thing. I spent most of high school not going to class. That's the story for another day, getting high. So I always had most of my high school career was just niggas telling me, hey nigga, you're hysterical and that shit. And then so at that time, that's right when Kevin Hart had blown up. And I seen a lot of myself in Kevin Hart, short, insecure guy, but not gonna let his insecurity get him funny, goofy, witty. You know what I'm saying? And this is prime Kevin, not Kevin Hart now. We all know how we feel about Kevin Hart now, but this is prime Kevin Hart when he was
seriously funny Kevin Hart.
Yeah, this is Kevin Hart in his bag, and I remember just seeing that shit and like I could be this, and I really related to that guy. And then so I think we had a high school talent show. And it was like my senior year, and Louis was like, fuck it, why not try stand up for the talent show? And I did that, and on my way to doing it, I told a few teachers, told my counselor, told all my friends, and so my teachers would actually let me, I hate to be this guy, because we all got these stories, where they would let me do stand up at the end of my class. So I was doing stand up in high school for my class, which but we've heard this too many times before. I don't want to be this guy.
Just be you. I'm excited. Yeah. I have some. I'll say some shit when you're done.
Okay, so got to do that, and then I was very popular in high school. Not for the right reasons, but I was very popular in high school. So they had the auditorium. And then so because it was me, I single-handedly, that's not fair to say, but brought a lot of people. So the auditorium fit 300 people plus. It was standing room only. Now that wasn't all for me, but a lot of it was for me because I was very popular. Now I was also a pothead, didn't go to school like that, not for the right reasons, but I was very popular. So a lot of my friends, if not most of the school, came out. It was a great lineup actually. My very talented school, musicians, poets. I would be lying to you to say if I was for sure the star of the show. But I think I did one better. But so did this showcase or whatever. Did really well. Did 10 minutes. This is funny. I leave this out because I want to be this guy. So right before I go on stage, this is the funniest thing ever. 2 things happened. I ended up doing my set the night before for the principal, the vice principal, and like the panel because they want to make sure it's clean, all that shit. So I do it, and the lady, they go, "Oh, that's good, but you gotta cut it down. You gotta take a few things out, cut it down." I said, cool. I end up right the day of the show before I going out, and first time ever doing some shit like this, I'm nervous, shitting bricks in my pants, and the vice principal goes, "Hey, we need you to do I'm planning to do 10. She's like, we need you to do 5 and cut out anything that has to do with any staff, anything that's involved in the staff. And I'm in high school, so I'm about to talk about I'm going to talk about the security, the principal, all that shit, school lunches, all that. None of that. Just whatever you got about family and shit. And I'm like, So right before I go on stage, I'm like, fuck, I done cut it down and shit. Did not do it. Go in there, run it, rip that bitch. And it's crazy is I rip it too. I got audio of it too. Now in retrospect, I watched it a few times. It's not a good set. All things.
It's high school killing.
Exactly, but killing. But it's high school. And I'm aware. But I'm not gonna pretend like I was Eddie Murphy. I'm not saying that by any means. So I rushed, and it's cool because I rip it, and then I remember my principal going like, "What the?" Not my principal, my vice principal go, "What did I tell you?" I go, "I don't know, man, but I just ate that shit." And she was like, "Cool." And this is the moment, and I'm never gonna forget this. My principal, the actual principal of the school, who we had a very love-hate relationship. Like I said, not a good kid. Really was not a good kid. And I remember him coming to me, and this really touched my heart. He goes, "My daughters told me that they thought you was the best one, and I also thought that too." And that shit felt good. And then everything after that was, as you say, is history. Then I graduated barely, and then I think I took like a month or two trying to find a job, trying to find myself, and then just started doing open mics. Started doing a lot of music mics first, because my friends are musicians, and then slowly started doing comedy, and yeah.
You have explosive fucking energy. Do you get that a lot?
I haven't talked to, and I'll be honest with you, this pandemic has fucked with my psyche, so I haven't thought about that part of my life in a second, so I just got really happy.
I'm happy to see it.
Thank you.
Like it makes sense. It really, like, the way you describe, and I know you don't want to be that guy. I respect that, but I'm going to speak from my perspective.
Hit me.
No, I can totally see it. Like the energy, the confidence. There's a swagger about you that is pretty. I think enigmatic. Endomatic. Is that a word?
Not sure.
All right, I'm trying to sound smart.
I think I know what you mean, but I'll be honest with you, I don't want to lie. We both sound like idiots. Like, no, that's it. People like, I don't know what the fuck they're saying.
Like a gravitational pull, like just a likability about you.
Oh, thank you.
I can see that translating really well in the north side, and I can see the confidence working. But do you have issue on the south side?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, I've got a lot better at it, and I know how to finesse it more, but urban rooms aren't. And now I also think it's because I started doing north side rooms and music mics and just more. Like, the rooms I do really well in aren't just white rooms. That'd be my rooms I do well is the diverse rooms, or like a room in like Pilsen where it's like white, black, Hispanic, and probably younger, or this around my age. Those are my rooms. And I do well in white rooms. I do good in black rooms, but I have struggled a lot, and that's mostly because even though Kevin Hart is my guy, I'm more of a Dave and Chris Rock guy. So I've always been trying to say something with my comedy, and sometimes until you're famous, that doesn't always play well in the urban room because maybe rightfully so. Who the fuck am I? What the fuck am I talking about, nigga? Tell some jokes, be funny, be quick, be quick about it. I'm not that guy. I can be, like I said, I've got better at it, and now I know how to play my hand better back there. But yeah, at first I did struggle because I did a lot of white rooms, did a lot of Hispanic rooms, and the black rooms I did do, they were like poetry open mics and shit. So still like, and kind of still how I feel. Then you go to the south side and it's like these hood ass niggas, and now I know how to finesse. So I come in that bitch aggressive, but I had to learn that because I naturally come in. I kind of have a Hannibal-esque vibe sometimes where I can come in that bitch relaxed and cool, and I'm too cool for school, but they don't like that. I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't like it, but if you're gonna be like that, you gotta be really hitting it because a lot of black people, they want to be entertained with the eyes and the ears. And one good habit and bad habit I got from doing a lot of white rooms is I'm a good writer. But because of that, sometimes I can be like, well, let me hit you with these good written jokes, and then they like perform. So yeah, like I said, it was a struggle. I'm better at it now. I can do both rooms now. But my rooms are more of a diverse room. That's the room I do well. I need a little bit of everything.
No, you're good, man. I guess for myself, I've come to realize. I think I'm, racially speaking, I'm a little angry with myself because I do really well in white rooms, but I think that's because I've made them so uncomfortable. Like I don't know I think you've only seen me do stand up like once, but when I talk about race, it is not nice. It's very mean. It's like,
that's so funny.
I'll tell. I literally was at a mic a few nights ago where I was like, I mean, I know you guys are all evil, and like I just I don't even think about it. Like I have a real chip on my shoulder when it comes to that. Funny. But then when I go to black rooms, it's almost like that punch isn't there because they're like, yeah, nigga, we know they're evil. We're aware.
There
and
it is.
so
That's a good point. Yeah.
so I've been having trouble with that, and I'm still. It seems like you. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like you understand yourself to the best of your ability at 25, 26.
I think, unfortunately, and I don't like to say this because I don't want to be that guy, but I've done some acid, I've done some shrooms. I grew up very poor, from very poor. So I made friends with a lot of rich people. I have a lot of white friends, but I have a lot of black friends. Grew up very Christian, not Christian. Spent the last few months being with myself a lot from the breakup. I'm very introspective. I'm also the only child. That helps too. Smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah.
I'm very introspective to a fault, but now that I'm finally in a place now, because of since the breakup, got some pussy, got a really good job, do medical sales, shit's coming around. So now I pulled it back. So it's confidence with the introspective. But because of that, I really have broke myself down over and over again. I'm very aware of my faults, my shortcomings, and I think that's a good thing. Now, to a fault where I've been in situations where I should be more confident, and I've folded plenty of times, and I think that's a part of the game. But at 25, I do think, because I have most of my friends are also 25, 24, 26, I think I am way more aware of myself as a whole than most people are, and I think that's just because I've been forced to do it. When you grow up poor, the way I grew up, I grew up pissing the bucket poor in Georgia. So because of that, I had to learn how to make friends. I had to learn how to make people like me because I wasn't able to take care of myself, and my mom was having a hard time doing it. So I had to learn how to make friends. And then from learning how to make friends, I made a lot of different friends from different backgrounds. I started to understand that. I wasn't good at school, so I've been spending the last few years really trying to work on that, reading a lot more. Trying to think about politics, philosophy, shit I would never thought. But my point being is, I really worked on myself because I had to. I didn't get a silver spoon in my mouth. So, and then on top of that, I've done a lot of drugs. Not beginning of the pandemic. I haven't done any hard shit recently, but beginning of the pandemic, I've done a lot of that type of shit. And I really had to, because I think the next step for me, I want as an artist to really start to be honest about what people our age are going through. And so because of that, I had to really be honest with myself. So yeah, I do think I'm more aware of who I am than most people are at 25.
What do you think your shortcomings or negative sides of yourself are?
There's a lot of them. The ones I feel comfortable saying in this microphone, I wasn't always a good speaker. I'm not even necessarily a great speaker now, but I've worked a lot. Like you, how long have we known each other? Like a year now? Maybe 2 years? Or just a year, right?
You and me?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been here for 5 months.
Okay, so you've known me for about 5 months.
Yeah.
I grew up poor, and I had a little bit of a speech impediment / I grew up in Georgia, Southern twang of just not saying words correctly. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm not saying I'm a great speaker now, but I'm way better. Yeah. So I had to, and it's a weird battle to fight in your life. For most of my life, I've been told how good I am at communicating with people, and then I also had to figure out that also I'm not good at talking. So that's a weird push and pull that I had to really deal with. Like, oh, I'm really good with people, and people like me, but I'm also not. Literally, I'm just not a good verbal talker sometimes.
I studied mass media and communication, and yeah, I think what you are good at connecting, and the words themselves don't necessarily need to be crisp in order for that. Lily, talking to Lily. Very crisp speech. The words themselves match. It's like a politician, and you feel like a preacher, where it's less about what is being said, it's how it's being said. There's a bravado behind it. Is how I interpret it. But
exactly. So, because of that, I also would like to get into acting. I would also like to, do more public speaking that isn't necessarily just stand up. So that was one of them demons I had to fight. And it's hard, man, because like I said, now I think I'm a good speaker, but for sure. Now I'm not gonna say I'm a great, but I'm a good speaker. But I've been doing a lot of work on it. I had to go back and literally go through. Like, the problem I had is I will mumble, and for some reason I will swallow the back ends of my words. That would just mean I would drop the D's and the N's off. And that was because I went to a little speaking coach for a second. That was just because I actually didn't know how to actually pronounce the N's and D's. I didn't know to put my tongue on top. Now, that seems pretty simple now. That's
Yeah.
Georgia for you, baby. They don't. That's just me hanging around. Also, I think too, my mom had a stroke when I was younger, so she slurs her words. So I think when I think about it in retrospect, I think a lot of that was I heard her say stuff like that, and that's how you learn as a kid to speak, is you hear your parents and your family. So I think I just kind of mimicked her speaking, and she not paying attention to it. So I think I just caught that too. So, but when you go through some type of like that type of like retraining yourself as a guy who I don't think I'm dumb by any means. I don't think I'm a dumb person. So when you're trying to literally learn how to repronounce a letter and words and sounds, that would fuck up your psyche. You know what I'm saying? Something like that would make you go, well, hey man, how long is this gonna take for me to learn how to say "n"? You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know, Nancy or something like that. Just like small. So I have to do that, and then on top of that, you know. I remember, I don't know if this answers your question, but I remember one time it was me and Clay, and we got in an argument with these white people over
Clay's white?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got in an argument against he got in this argument against
He's like Mac Miller white?
I don't know enough about Mac Miller, but I don't think that's a bad description.
He's like a part of the culture. Jack Harlow.
Oh yeah. Exactly. I'm finna tell him that's so funny. Yeah. So I remember we got in this argument, and Clay's a very smart guy, with these white people over the educational system and the things we can do to adjust it. And they was talking about maybe we can maybe the tax code, and maybe instead of doing it by like the counties, we just do it by the state or some shit like this, and all the stuff we do. And I remember they was talking about it, and I remember getting overwhelmed because I knew literally nothing about the situation. And then I got into politics. I knew nothing about the situation, and it hit me. And I don't tell too many people this, and I'm just gonna give you this for your podcast. I remember being overwhelmed, and then immediately thinking, I'm like, Clay, why do I need Clay to? And he wasn't fighting my fight by any means, but he was fighting a good cause. But it shouldn't be me fighting the fight. And it just hit me because I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this shit. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about economics. I don't know anything about the social economics or any of this shit. And now that's the educational system. That's not necessarily me necessarily being dumb. That's just because we wasn't taught well. But I remember thinking that, I go, if I'm going to be, and this is like this might have been right around the protesting and shit like this.
George Floyd died.
Yeah, right around that time. Maybe even be right before that, ironically enough, right? And I remember thinking, and so we all black guys, like, we're going to be a change. And I remember thinking, I go, if I'm going to actually be a change in society or have any positive impact, change society is strong, but have any positive impact, I mean, you got to learn some shit. So then I've spent the last few years really studying politics, even getting into philosophy a little bit, which not necessarily helps this, but I do think the understanding how people think and the thought and that type of shit, anthropology, all that shit, I've been really trying to understand a little bit more, because like, these are things like, dude, if you really want to be that guy and make a change, you gotta know some shit. You gotta read a book or something. So I've been doing that shit a little bit. So
yeah.
But I mean, as a guy, like I said, I wasn't great in school mostly because I was just skipping class and getting high. Yeah. So that was hard for me too, because back in my head, my whole life, I thought I was a little bit dumb. But let me know if I'm ranting. Let me know if I'm going to talk to
it's so okay. I'll talk a little bit, and then my perception of okay. You and all this stuff. I'm learning about myself as well. Mm-hmm. I'm based off of what I'm taking in from what you're saying is you've had a lot of confidence, and now you're into the maturity side of things. And I think as of recent, I've been developing my I think I've developed a lot of the maturity side, and I've reversed what you're going through. I'm 30 now. And
my guy.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. It's water and the dreadlocks. Dreadlocks will make you look young for some reason. I don't know what it is, but my confidence has been absolute shit. And so coming out here, I've been trying to work on that and get comfortable. And so with this podcast, I've been trying to contact people that I feel like you know this. You know when you go with your gut about people, when you meet someone and you're like, there's something about that person that's either I need to be around them or they're a good person, whatever. Those are the people I've been trying to get on the podcast. And so far it's been home run. Everybody I've gotten on, I feel like I can learn from. And your confidence, I feel like I can learn from.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And the other thing I'm trying to do is go with the flow of someone's personality. So like in my head, I'm going to all these other directions that aren't necessarily what you're saying, so I'm trying to redirect and follow your I'm trying to vibe with you. Yeah, man. I invited you to this podcast. You don't know me. Mm-hmm. The whole point is to get to know me, and I want you to feel as comfortable being open as possible. I think that when it comes to talking to people, especially in a podcast, it's weird because we're in this business. Mm-hmm. And on one hand, I do genuinely want to get to know you. Hopefully we can become buddies or whatever the fuck. And on the other hand, it's business. And we're talking into microphones and we're going to put it's a balance to ride. And so for me, I think the best way to approach it is to be as open with myself. Mm-hmm. And I didn't answer any. We both ramble, huh?
I'm a rambler. No, I get what you're saying. You're saying I think you're trying to say I'm not rambling. I'm following and I'm learning.
And I'm learning about you.
Exactly.
That's all I'm doing. I'm taking what you're saying.
Appreciate you. And then what I was gonna say. And so I was gonna say. So the trying to learn that I've been. So yeah, just been really working. I just spent too much time. I've just spent a lot of time recently by myself trying. Oh, insecurities. So I told you about that. Yeah. The speaking,
the stuff you're comfortable with, express. Yeah.
And then it was one other thing, but I kind of forgot.
Did you have? This is a big reoccurring thing on my podcast. Did you have an issue with race growing up? Like, did white people give you shit, or were you like Will Smith going to Bel Air and white people were like, "Hey, this guy is so cool"? Because that's the vibe I get.
Yeah, it was more of that than anything. I've had. But I have to be honest. I've had let me not say only. I've had majority of good experiences with my white friends. Mm-hmm. I won't say white people. I've had a lot of bad experiences with white people, but my white friends, I've had only good experiences with them so far, and I've had a lot of growth I've had has come through some of my white friends. Not majority of them, but mm-hmm. some of them. I had like Clay's a prime example. He's really has pushed me in ways I didn't think I can grow. Mostly on like the trying to like really learn some shit. He's really got me in that perspective.
Did you? That's funny. I think. See, I have a
different
man. I mean, I've said it a million times. So whoever listens consistently, I'm sorry, but these are new people I'm getting to know. Just hell with white people.
Where are you from?
I'm from Riverside, California, the desert suburbs, and I mean, white people in general, evil, but then my friends, especially with this pandemic, the past 4 or 5 years, I was like, is this who you? Is this who I had sleepovers with? Like, I was at your fucking house.
That's crazy. Like, now, what do you mean by this?
Monstrous, man. Like, okay, I'll tell you some stories. I remember I made a little comedy special. I'll send it to you. This is a story from it. I went to an all-white Baptist church. And
I know that one.
Yeah, and these were people I love to this day, but goddamn, most of them had family in the police force and all that stuff. And so when I would be like, this is stuff that's happening to me, they would tell me I was being ridiculous or whatever. All of them. Every white person. So I started to feel insane. I started to you're meeting me right now. Yeah, you're meeting a person, the me that is understanding I'm not crazy. Mm-hmm. And so I remember, do you remember Chris Rock's bit? There's black people and there's niggas, and the niggas have got to go. There's a nuance to that joke that white people don't, especially back then, don't understand. I remember my youth pastor. We were talking about the word and if white people can use it and can't. I was like, no, please don't do that. I don't think I said it that articulate. I was young. Of course. But I was like, no, don't. And he was like, Aaron, and I'm quoting him when I say this.
Oh, man.
He said, Aaron, there's white niggers, and there's black niggers, and there's Mexican niggers, and there's Asian niggers. And he's trying to illustrate the point that...
I get it.
But it's not the same.
Yeah, it's misguided.
Yeah. And this is like he was like my older brother at the time. And I had I said the same stories, but whatever. Girlfriend, white, dad, white, Republican, but like old, like Republican pre-Trump, which is a different thing to me. And I remember I was getting fucked with by Karens before they were Karens.
Man.
And this dude was a father figure I was trying to look up to. And I was bringing him my issue. I was like, look, I'm being fucked with. And they're not like, I didn't do anything. And he's like, well, Aaron, it's your responsibility to make people feel comfortable. The things like that, and getting jumped, getting attacked. My high school was called Martin Luther King Jr. High School. And when
all white people.
Not only all the white people, but when it was being made, when they were naming it, the community protested. They wrote letters. They were like, we don't want to name it that because we don't want colleges to think our kids are going to a black school. And I could tell you a story after it. It's an endless well of stories, but white people have been especially horrendous to me. And so I'm trying to find a place where I'm not angry all the time. And
I get that.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing. And the more I've learned, especially from having like female friends, that's the weird thing about personal experience. You deserve to be angry, and I get it. I'm not gonna tell you not to be angry because I get it. I've had weird experiences when I just also have had good experiences, and I'm in the place now where I don't want to lie about. Because younger St. James, I would have lied and be like, "Oh no, I feel the same. I don't feel the same way." Yeah. But I do understand very much, and I've had bad experiences with white cops a few times. So it's hard, man. It's really hard because at that young of an age, that really will fuck with you. And it's hard because I grew up in Georgia as a kid. And now I always wonder if it was because I was too young or maybe I got lucky. I didn't actually have that many bad experiences with white people. Now I don't think I went to a white school except for maybe 1 year. I think I was mostly in Hispanic and black school when I was down there. But I didn't have any bad experiences. But I've had more bad experiences in Chicago, believe it or not, than I've had in Georgia with white people. And that's what I always wonder about that.
I have a theory, and that I have a buddy Zero, who also he's like I always call him an Uncle Tom, but he is the polar opposite of me when it comes to race. And you seem to be more in the middle. And I think my theory is you are very likable. I was not likable. Like I think there's there can be a charm about me if you get to know me, but you have to really take the time to understand that.
I get that.
Yeah. And so I think because I was so headstrong and aggressive with how I spoke, people were like, well, fuck him then. and
that's fair. I was, especially as a kid. Now I'm more that way, but as a kid, I was the complete opposite because, like I said, I was the only child. I needed friends because I'm an outgoing person. Yeah. So once I was out, because I spent a lot of summers, a lot of time by myself. So when I'm out and about, no matter who it is, and also I was a kid. And one thing my mom just didn't train me on, and maybe because she didn't have time, I didn't know to not. And I'm not saying you thought this way, but I didn't know to not like white people. So if I'm around somebody, especially because I grew up religious, like, at least the right way, I think, at that time. I'm like, I was taught to love everybody, so I didn't think anything about it. And then when I got to Chicago, that train of thought came more in my mind. But now by that time, especially when I was going to Lincoln Park, I had started to actually make, like, my best friend, I had a lot of best friends, but one of my best friends was this tall white guy. Yeah. So, and who really looked out for me, legitimately looked out for me. Also, one of my best friends is a Puerto Rican guy. And also one of my best friends is this black guy. So it was beautiful and gay a little bit, in a good way, But it was just this rainbow walking around Lincoln Park. So I always kind of have looked like at things like that. I haven't been forced until recently to look at it the other way because now I'm more aware. I'm more articulate with my thoughts. I know where I stand. I know history. I know politics. So now when I'm talking to some of my quote white colleagues and then they say crazy things, I'm not as because like I said, to be fair, I was opposite. If you would have said some shit like my history teacher, I'm never gonna forget this, told me, this is sophomore year. She was like U.S. history, like honest U.S. history. She goes, slavery wasn't that bad. This is what she said. She goes, think about it. She goes, why would they beat them all the time? That's their workers. It doesn't make sense to beat them all the time. That's a little played out. And I knew then that couldn't be right, but I would never. One, because I didn't have the tool set to break that down, and then two, I I didn't have the balls. But now, I'm also a grown man. I would never let somebody look me in my eyes. And she said that, and I was one of two only black kids in that class, and said that out loud. But to your point, I didn't push back.
Yo, it's like, see, I'm doing the reverse now.
You're calming down and I'm ramping up.
Yeah. I'm like, now when people say some wild shit, when white people say wild shit, generally, and I had a moment recently, which I'll tell you off the air. Please don't let me, in fact, don't forget, off the air. Okay. I had a moment recently where a white person said some shit that was unsavory and did not mean it in an angry way. Like, your teacher genuinely in her heart was like, it's not that.
I think she did too.
It's weird because it doesn't come from a place of anger from them. And so anyway, this person said some shit and I'm still getting to know them. And now instead of arguing, I just say, okay, I'm going to remember that you said that. I'm just going to keep an eye on it. And it's a calm, like, I'm trying to be more understanding, and it's frustrating because I'm hyperbolic. Like, you see, you're making me get all fucking amped up. But I'm hyperbolic with the way I speak. So when I say hate, I think really what I mean is distrust or I'm wary of.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. It's just like I just need to protect myself. Like, the violence that occurred in my life through white people has been horrendous.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And so I really do hope that we speak more at, like, I'm the other thing about me is when I came out here, I was trying to be as low key as possible because where I was from, I was in everyone's face, just pissing everyone off. So I was like, I'm going to start clean slate. Let me just chill the fuck out a little bit. And so I want to make friends. I want to make connections, but I also understand that takes time and it's a process. I used to want friends so bad that I try to force people to be my friend. Like, I was like, you're my friend now. And it seems like you more was like, hey, Charm, I'm going to make you like me.
Well, exactly. I mean, the blessing is I'm really good at it. I make this joke, and it's the truth, and I probably should stop making a joke as me. I have too many friends, legitimately too many friends.
I can see that.
And I have a tendency with friends and women, I've noticed in life. I'll tell you that off the air.
We'll talk. Oh, nigga. Okay, yeah.
Where I attract emotionally damaged people, and I don't know. I used to do this thing where I'll go, because I'm emotionally damaged. I don't think I'm emotionally damaged. I don't know how to tell people no. And I'm a ball of good energy, and people who are emotionally damaged are attracted to that because, especially at this age, I'm getting to a point now where I think people normally learn to go, oh, let's not go that way with that person. I don't have that. I'm now learning to turn it on because I've had a lot of friends put me in bad positions out of me being a good friend, and they didn't mean harm. They're not in a good place, and they pull you with them. So because of that, my point being is I make a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, and
speaking of someone who's emotionally damaged, it's like emotionally damaged, but is actually working on it. So
which is all you can do.
Yeah, it's like a what are the bug zappers? You're like a little light thing, and as an emotionally damaged person, I'm like, oh, there's a light there. I need that light.
My other friend told me that, but I want to be there. But it's a weird double-edged sword. That might not be the right saying for this. Where it's like I don't, and I'm getting older where I'm learning I need to maybe turn it down a little bit, but I don't want to because I much rather try to help as many people. Because I'm getting to the point now where, and this is why the comedy thing is fucking me. Cause I've gone through ways where like before the pandemic, I was doing a show every night. I was 23, right before the pandemic. 23, doing a show every night. Had the big show at Laugh Factory. I was crushing it. I was really coming together as a comedian. You just could have not told me I wasn't going to be famous. You just couldn't have told me I wasn't going to be that guy. Pandemic happens, comedy goes to whatever, blah, blah. I get in a relationship, that happens, and I'm starting to think about maybe comedy isn't for me. Maybe I should just get a wife and kids. Maybe I should go to corporate America. Maybe I should just play that game, play it safe. And I had to go. That was 2 years of that fight in my head. And that also is part of the reason why it made me go, maybe I should stop hanging out with the people hanging out. But now that I'm coming out, I go, hey, I don't know if comedy's gonna work out, and I'm fine with saying that. It doesn't make me feel weird anymore. But the one thing I do enjoy in my life is I made a lot of positive impact on people's lives, and I want to keep that. If I die tomorrow and 1,000 people come to my funeral and they go, "Hey, he was a good guy," that actually would make me feel. I mean, I'd be dead, but I think I think in theory that would make me feel good, and I'd rather have that legacy over, hey, he's an amazing comedian, but he's a fucking dick who was never open. So
it's, you know what it is? I don't think you need to turn the light down. I think it's about boundaries. So it's like having the light, and it's just gonna attract pieces of shit, and then being like, well, you're not gonna be allowed to have my light or whatever. But with the women stuff, should I go first or should you go first?
I'll let you go first, so I know where we're going with this.
Boy, I'm really proud is not the right word because I'm not your fucking dad, but I think because I'm 30 now, when I see specifically young black men start and are doing good shit earlier, I'm like, good. That's what I do with my brothers now. My brothers are like 9 years younger than me, and I see them doing way better than me when I was younger, and I feel so like, oh, thank Christ. Good.
No, that's good, but that's
good, guys. Yeah. So what I did was instead of performing on stage, I performed for girls, and I spent all that time getting really good at getting pussy, and I'm sure I'm gonna pay for that shit in the future. Oh, I can't wait for Me Too the sequel to come. I'm positive. Like, and obviously I didn't rape anybody, but when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, 20, and you don't have the maturity or that I don't want to say empathy, but like the Me Too movement smacked me across the goddamn face, because I was like, all of the black shit I've been dealing with, they've been dealing with the female version of that.
I just had this conversation with my friend. No, keep going.
Oh, okay. And I just now, like, everything about coming to Chicago is clean slate and working on my behavior and not doing the same goddamn stupid shit. Like, there's this one off the air. God damn it. Hold up.
No, I get that, and it's weird because part of the reason why I had to, and it's hard to say that. I'm trying to say this as a nice way because it's a weird thing to say because people take stuff out of context. But one of the things I've been doing is, back to the old part, working on myself, is I peaked late. Like I in the sense of, I think you know what I mean as a man. In the sense of, and I was cool in high school, but I didn't fuck in high school. And a lot of that was because, in retrospect, now in the moment, I thought it was because girls didn't like me. That's what I internalized. In retrospect, it's because I was too high all the time. I didn't know how to close. Women really liked me. And every time I think about it, because now I'm found in a place where I understand how to get a woman. I'm like, it was like 6, 7 opportunities off the top of my head. I go, yeah, you was just fucking up, my guy. You was high, and you folded. You folded. You didn't make the move. They wanted you to make the move as high school. They're not going to make a move on you now. But, so because of that, I internalized in myself that women like me, I'm not cute, blah, blah, that same old trope. And now, but one of the things I've learned over this summer is, like, oh, that's not true. And that's one of the demons I had to get over. Because as a man, and maybe as a woman too, as a human being, at some point you do want to feel love. You do want to feel valuable. And I did have a girl who loved me, who I loved. But it's the thing that as a guy, and I think this is fair to say, I don't think this is a weird sexist thing to say, we just have naturally, through our fucking genetics and our way we're built, the urge to spread our seed. And I think every guy has to go through that phase. And me and my friend have this running joke where, like, my girlfriend called me right before me and her started dating. I was just now starting to figure it out, and then she called me. Yep. And then so little me in my mind was like, oh, I need to make sure I can do that. So a lot of the summer was doing that. But the same thing I just recently noticed with a situation I'll tell you later. I was like, oh, I had the problem I have with some of my friends. I'm starting to have that problem with some ladies where it's like, I got it. Like you just said it perfect. I need to start putting up some boundaries because I'm an open book, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But the people who I've noticed, and I'm not saying this like I'm a victim, but this is the truth. I've noticed there's people who are willing to take advantage of me because I am always willing to try to help.
Yes. Speaking of that, in this relationship on a personal level, that boundary, please, if I have this thing about, like, if I like somebody, if I enjoy someone's company, I will bother them. Please just be like, hey, Aaron, Here's my boundary right now. I'll talk to you later. If that starts happening, please, there's future reference because I'll do that shit anyway. No, but the boundary thing, the people pleasing, that desire for people to be happy around you. I know what you mean, and it gets you in trouble. But I don't know. I don't know what I don't.
This is great. I mean, let me know if you want me to keep. I'm enjoying it. Let me know if you want to keep going. Stop.
By all means, we keep going. I want to know what's your advice for me out here? Like how about this? Here's what
I got advice. Do you want I got a lot of advice. I can tell you real quick.
Okay. I'll tell you my strategy and then tweak my strategy.
Okay.
My strategy right now at this point is be as funny as possible on stage. Just to the point where people have to be like, well, we got to book him. Like, he's going to do well. Be funny as possible. Continue to just figure out who I am and try to enjoy the journey of this as desperately as I want to get to the end goal. And those are my 3 goals right now.
But those are 3 great goals. I think personally and long term, those are the goals. Now, as far as finesse in Chicago in the short term, I think this is what you should add. I think you should hang out more at the clubs. Find some people like me that you like, that you don't mind hanging out with. I'm always open. I go out. I don't go out as much now because I told you the love I have for the comedy scene isn't what it used to be. The love for comedy is still the same, but the comedy scene isn't. So, and not in a bad way. It's just a lot of my friends have moved. The friends I started with have moved. I'm getting older. I'm starting to understand this more as a business. As to when I was younger, this was my life. Now I'm saying this is a business that I want something out of. But hang around, go out to the clubs. I would, if I was you, Lincoln Lodge is allowing independent producers to get shows easy.
We got one.
I would get a show at Lincoln Lodge. Try to book it well and let it be known that you run it. Do well in those shows, and make friends with people who are doing stuff.
I work with Christian Royce and Adam. I can't pronounce his last name.
Adam.
Jew.
Adam.
God,
Adam, not Quaslow.
Quaslow, yeah.
Oh,
there you go. Yeah. We do the Fuck You show.
I love Adam. Adam's good people.
Yeah.
And who's the other person?
Christian Royce.
Christian Royce is a good people. He's a good person to be around too.
Yeah, we're producing that show together. So hey, I made a step. I think the problem I have with the hanging out thing is I'm so introverted. I through the pandemic and through being alone, I was like, oh, this is nice.
No, I'm the same way. It's weird. That's the weird thing about me. I am a introvert, extrovert, down the middle because I grew up as an only child. I've learned. I spend a lot of time talking to myself. That is a comfort for me. But I also like being around people to a certain extent, though. But I now figured that out because I never would get it when I'd be around these group of people. I'd be like, oh, I'm having a good time. Then I know I wouldn't be having a good time, and I would always think, I was like, what's wrong with me? Now I'm like, oh, it's because. It's a certain amount before it becomes detrimental, if that's the right word. It's like I gotta pull back and go to myself and reset my
energy drained. You need to refill. I get you.
Yeah.
As far as hanging out, like,
do you know Ty Riggs?
No, we've talked a little bit. I was thinking about having him on the podcast.
He's a good person. I would say that would be my key. I would say find people that you have similar vibes that you can go. Because I'll be honest with you, the key to this bullshit is being out. There's just no way around it. Yeah. And the reason why I'm not out as much because I've already paid that due in Chicago. I am one of the guys in Chicago. So I'm not worried about people. And I run a big show. So I'm not as worried about people forgetting me. But if I was a newer person, I think you're just going to have to be out for a little bit to allow people to know you're funny and you're here.
I definitely think I need to move. My car broke down, and I have to take public transit everywhere. In Pilsen,
I remember that one.
It's like just far enough to where I'm like, God damn it. Like, it's going to take me 45 minutes to get goddamn everywhere.
Nashad, maybe I shouldn't put this. One of my homies, Nashad Barrow, who I think you will like a lot. He lives around the corner from me, and I think he has a car. So maybe
we'll talk about it after the thing. But when my lease is up in June, I was going to move more north.
I think that's a good move.
Okay. I'll probably talk to you about it when the move happens. But I was going to say words.
Do you act or anything else or just stand up?
Right now I've been hyper focused on stand up, but
Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I did improv for 10 years and then I did acting for a while.
Oh, so you do act?
Yeah.
That I'm gonna start producing things now also is a back move because a lot of people are, because the comedy's back, everybody's hyper focused on comedy, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I prefer not to say this on the podcast. But
Let's
not to say it on the podcast.
Okay.
Let the people have it. I think when I've noticed some show business, when everybody zigs, you should zag. So doing some more online stuff right now wouldn't be a bad idea.
Dude, I'm making this. So I started learning how to draw. And oh man, it's so relaxing relative to comedy, the opposite of an art form. And I found this producer who wants to help me make this like comic book series on YouTube.
That's fire.
Yeah, so we're making it. I'm excited because I wanted to have this mix of like the Boondocks with this noir feel, and it's about Chicago and my experience. I'm excited about that. So it seems like short term is just make sure people remember me and I'm doing well.
That's it. Because Chicago's I love you. Chicago really is like a Midwestern woman. It's a follower in this sense. I've noticed this when it comes to the Chicago guy. Actually, that's not fair. This is show business. That's not Chicago. This is show business. Once people, it's a phase I know with Chicago. I think it happens everywhere. I've seen my New York friends go through it. It's like buzz. Once the buzz gets to you, then everybody bites, and then you go through you run the cycle. Like I'll give you a prime example. When I first started, there's a guy named Josh Edgeness who doesn't do comedy anymore. Good guy. And he was nice. I felt like he was, I don't want to say the white version of me, but we were similar age, started at the same time. And because he was a white guy, he kind of blew up before I did in Chicago. But once people booked him, I noticed, because I was 19, 20, I was very hyper into what this hierarchy was. He got booked everywhere. And I saw a female comic, white lady, do the same thing. When she started, she got booked everywhere. It's like once the buzz hits you, everybody's like, oh, who's that? And that's show business. That's not Chicago. I made it Chicago. That's show business. But then it happened to me. But when it happened to me, I knew what it was. I got booked a few times, and I was starting to be the black guy on the shows. And then once I became like, oh, who's a funny black guy we can get real quick? St. James. Then it was kind of around right before the pandemic. It happened twice, but I was going through the second round right before the pandemic where I was on everybody's show. I was the guy you had to have. I'm now seeing it with people like who's a good example? Ken Flores. You know him, light-skinned guy, that kind of guy. Nice little guy. He's going through it now. And now he's been booked. Now everybody's like, I got to get that guy. I mean, Kevin Hart's talked about it. It's even on a higher level. It's the small level. But you can see on a high level, like Kevin Hart's level, once he did the few specials, he was in 1 or 2 movies, then he was in every movie.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of how it goes.
It seems like the ebb and flow is buzz. Buzz.
Because show business is a game of followers and a game of nobody's really. It's a few people. I've noticed this recently at a high level. It's 2 things that make people great in this industry. I'm talking about show business.
Okay.
I'm talking about it's the artistic side and the business side. Since it seems to be a lot more money than ever in show business, a lot of the people I've noticed who come into comedy, especially comedy, have been more business focused, who happen to like art. I personally feel like I'm an artist who's starting to learn business, but I think you said you too. I think we are now not the majority. What's the opposite of majority?
Minority.
The minority. So because of that, I lost my train of thought. Oh, my point being is, people are followers, people are business. So you gotta learn how to play the business, and that's all I'm trying to say. And that's the part of it too.
Is your name Saint?
Mm-hmm. James.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Cool.
I don't know why I would lie about that, but yeah.
I was just because I go to the South Side and everyone's has these goddamn nicknames, so I wasn't sure what was going on.
And that's a good thing. I don't need a stage name. My dad did that for me. The only good thing that nigga's done for me was
Saint James. Fuck, I was gonna ask you something. God damn it, it's the worst.
Another film, but yeah, I think So like I said, I've led most of my comedy career trying to be an artist, and I don't feel bad about it. I think it's made me a good comedian. I think it's made me a good writer. I'm starting to become a decent actor, so I don't feel bad about really leaning with the love of the game. But I've noticed I could be a lot further if I was a little bit more business-minded, and that's just how I'm turning. I'm watching some of these people. I got a few people in mind, but I'm not going to name drop them because now this is a negative connotation, where they lead with business, and they're not great artists, but because they're so good at business that they're getting the spots. But they're also smart enough to understand they're getting the spots and they're making it count, to be fair to them. So now they're becoming decent comedians, but they didn't start as a good comedian. So
I
there's
have
2 ways to play it.
People I'm picturing of that out here too. Of like, I can tell that they understand the game, but I know what you mean. But on the positive end of that, is there anybody in this scene who you're like, this guy's going to be. There's no question they are going to be famous or successful in this game. Anybody who's underrated, anybody that you feel like...
it's a few people underrated. I do underrate. The weird thing, now I understand the game is the game, and it is luck in this. I have friends who I know who are going to be super famous, but they're not in Chicago, but those are the ones who moved out and kind of already there. So if I don't count them, the people who are in Chicago, which is who I think you mean, I think Nashad Barrow is really funny. Luis Arevalo is really funny. I think Clay Hurbutt is a really talented guy. Skylar Higley, but he's writes for Conan, so I don't know if that's fair. Skylar Higley's for sure going places. He just became a writer on The Onion. James Fisher is really talented.
I want to talk to Skylar one day.
You should. I think you have similar vibes. I'll introduce you whenever. Next month, come to the show. It's only my show at last.
Oh, okay.
Come through, and I'll introduce you to the whole squad.
Okay.
I'll give you the information. But Skylar, Luis, Nashad. Now these happen to also be some of my best friends.
Yeah, of course.
Clay. But they are. But I do think that's the weird thing about life. I think people attract other people like that.
Yeah.
I think
the energy you put out, the energy is gonna come back.
And I think, lucky enough, I've been blessed to be somewhat talented, so I think I attract talented friends, and my friends are really talented. I'm happy they let me be their friends.
Yeah.
But those are the ones in Chicago off the top of my head that I'm like, those are for sure doing things.
If you don't mind, I would like to hit up Nashad and about doing the podcast because
I'll put you in a group chat with him.
Okay. I think because I want to talk about the off the air stuff so bad now. So man, this has been good.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. The Chicago way, nigga. All right. Till next time.